This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. We tell you what you need to know, follow up on the context of those stories, and help each other understand.
Oh, look, it's Jason Alley's back. Today, Dr. Niki tells us about 3D printing skin. Let me just say that again. Dr. Niki tells us about 3D printing skin. And VO3 is filling all of our feeds with AI-generated video with sound and music intact.
That's right. You can't avoid it anymore. We're going to talk all about it. I'm Jason Howell.
I'm Tom Merritt.
We're going to start with what you need to know with the big story. See, you didn't need to wait very long. We're going to talk about it right now. Last week, Google unveiled VO3. You certainly heard about it on DTNS, a major upgrade to its video generation AI model. This new version, just as a little bit of a refresher, not only creates 4K high definition photorealistic video. I mean, the video looks pretty good this time around from text, or you can use a starter image in order to generate, but it now generates audio to match the imagery. So dialogue, sound effects, ambient sound, background music, it can all be included. And then, there's support for, improvements around lip syncing. Real world physics has been improved. So a lot of changes, a lot of upgrades to VO3. And that's not really the news because we did tell you about that last week. But as you can expect, the internet works in not very mysterious ways, and that machine went to work and started churning out some pretty impressive viral clips. So if you've been on the internet all weekend, which I have to admit, I was camping, Tom. You know how I like camping. So I wasn't engulfed by the internet all weekend, but I've seen some clips today, and saw a lot of this content flying around. Did you happen to see some of this? Did you have?
I was going to say, even out in the wilds, the VO3 reached out and found you. Actually, one of my favorites is Justin Robert Young made one of like black and white, old timey, on the set newscasters debating Charizard versus Blastoise, the two Pokemon characters. But yeah, there's lots of like, here's a person who looks like a news anchor on a news set saying a crazy thing that isn't true. And, how scary is it that we could make a fake news anchor say a thing that isn't true? So yeah, I've seen all kinds of things like that. To be honest, I'm kind of impressed that anybody was able to get these going at all, because not only do you have to pay $250 a month if you want to be certain to get access, although you can still eventually get access from Google. And I think most of the $20 a month people have finally got it. But then you have to know where to go to find it, because it's not called VO3. You have to go into Flow. And then I can't remember. I think you choose high resolution or high quality or something like that. And then that's VO3. And then you can get it going. So you kind of have to know what you're doing, but enough people were motivated to do this because it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. And that Flow, of course, that was another thing that I meant to mention, is the kind of like the full video, the AI video edit suite, which you really do only get if you're paying $250 a month. Although I think, don't you get like access to a couple to test it out, or maybe it's a discounted rate? I can't remember.
Yeah,
that's
the $20 a month folks can
access.
Get some access to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did, by the way, side topic, how did Android Faithful's Flow feel about this being named Flow?
Couple of laughs were had, Yeah. I mean, how can you not? But
right.
Yes, I think she was okay with it.
It's
not FLO, so,
so it's not
a total infringement. Yeah, totally. I saw a video of a stand-up comedian that I think the prompt was super simple. It was like stand-up comedian in a comedy house delivering a joke. And the joke was so good, although NSFW, so I won't say it, but the joke was so good, it legit made me laugh out loud. I was like, oh, that was actually pretty good.
So was the joke created by the prompt?
Yes. No, the prompt did not create the joke. The prompt was super simple.
The prompt said, make a joke, and it made a joke.
Yeah, a stand-up comedian in a comedy house delivering a joke. And everything about it was legit funny. I was like, oh, my
honestly,
goodness.
The joke being funny is the most impressive part of that.
Totally. Yeah, it was actually pretty good. I mean, it had to do with, this is not saying a bad word. It had to do with the Shih Tzu dog breed, which I am close to because my parents always had Shih Tzus. And so there you go. You can interpret as you will. But clips like that, kind of I've had a feeling all along, and I'm not alone in this or anything, but this is just kind of how I feel about this stuff is right now, because it's all so new, people have this visceral reaction of like, no, like I'm not going to find this funny because it's generated by AI, or I'm not going to find anything human in here because it's generated by a machine. We will get to a point to where these clips, to a certain degree, I believe, are pretty indecipherable from the real thing. And when I see a stand-up comedian in a fully generated, clip, if I really scrutinized it, yes, I would have been able to tell that it was AI if I wasn't like reading an article that kind of highlighted it that was about the topic. But I mean, it legit made me laugh out loud, which tells me there is a human element to connect with these things, even if they aren't created by a human. And I mean, say what you will, like there's kind of some value there, right?
Yeah, the AI backlash is real. And so, sure I don't want to like stomp on the toes of people who are very upset about this, but I am someone who thinks there is good and bad that comes with it. And I also think, I mean, is there any time you look at CGI these days in a movie and say, that's good CGI versus I didn't know that was CGI? Like, I feel like we always figure out the tells. We always figure out the look. And that these are very impressive because we haven't seen anything this smooth before. But eventually, our human brains will mostly figure it out. And there'll be some people fooled a few times, along the way until we get to the idea that everybody accepts that, like, oh, yeah, any video can be generated, with sound and music. That's good enough. So we'll start to look for other things to validate whether something's real or not.
Yeah. And I mean, this is another aspect of it, obviously. And you kind of mentioned it earlier, this growing chorus around, the concern for fabricated content, disinformation. Are people going to be creating tons and tons of video that sends people down the wrong path, for their own gain or whatever? And the content that these systems are creating are good. No question about it. And they continue to improve. On the other side, like there's always been machinery around creating things that are believable. Like you said, CGI, like you go back far enough and CGI 20 years ago looks horrible through today's lens, but at the time it looked pretty darn real. And over time, we, like you said, we do recognize the tells of these things. So does it announce some impending doom that because VO3 can do all of these things and it's improved and everything, that it spells doom for everything we think of as real? I don't know. I guess there's a thread of a threat around this, but I think there always is with technology. It's just how technology works. There's a new thing that can do new things, and we don't understand it yet, and we will.
And the new things have been coming at an accelerated rate recently.
That's a part of it,
which I think is more unsettling. And sometimes it's comforting to just throw your hands up and go like, well, I guess reality is done.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I get it.
Google is expanding access to VO3, so it's making it much more available. 71 more countries, in fact. The EU still excluded for the time being. So I'm sorry if you live in the EU, you will not be able to use it unless I guess you use a VPN. I imagine that would work, but. Yeah, here's one thing that I find interesting about this. And again, this is by no means like an original thought or anything, but when I was at Google I/O watching everything that they were showing off with Flow and with VO3, in my head just repeatedly, I was like, man, I've heard from so many people who hate the fact that platforms like YouTube have AI generated video the way it is now. And in my head, I'm just like, I have a feeling you ain't seen nothing yet. Like these tools are making it so much easier and so much faster to create this stuff and to not require a depth of knowledge on the person that's doing it. And that's, I think, what scares people. Yeah.
And I don't think you should be scared by that in and of itself. Always be nervous about what people will try to use things for.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that every use is going to be negative. Andrew Main on the attention mechanism this week was saying if he wasn't already busy doing other things, he'd start a documentary film company to take advantage of this because you can, we already have reenactments all the time. He's like, imagine what you can do with this, responsibly, to help create video that would have been more time consuming and expensive to create in the past.
Yeah. And it's going to happen. Yeah. Interesting stuff.
Well, DTNS is made possible for the moment by humans. Thank you, humans, for listening to this show, like Brad, Kevin Morgan, Paul Teason, and we got some new patrons, Brett, Guy, Samanth, and Alex. Thank you all.
You're some wonderful humans.
Best humans ever.
There's more we need to know today. Let's get to the briefs.
Yes. Now, if you listen to Daily Tech Headlines on Monday, which did not take off for the U.S. holiday, you probably heard about this. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman reporting that Apple's big WWDC reveal is going to be a unified software interface called Solarium. I don't know if they'll call it that in the end, but that's what they're calling it now.
Solarium.
Is that? Yeah. Maybe they'll use that song. Its rumored design overhaul takes inspiration from Vision OS on the Apple Vision Pro. The update brings a modern and consistent look to all Apple platforms, the consistency being the thing people have been wanting more and more of. So across iOS, iPadOS, macOS, watchOS, tvOS, the intention is to unify and streamline the user experience as well as improve multitasking. Unrelated to the WWDC, this is the part you might have heard about yesterday, Gurman also reported that Apple is aiming to launch its HomePad smart home hub by the end of the year. It'll be a tabletop device, have a square 7-inch display, support for Apple Intelligence, of course, on top of being your controller for HomeKit and Siri throughout the home. The device was first expected to release sometime this spring, but then they pushed back that date to address a number of issues related to Apple Intelligence. And it's not the one with the robot arm. That one's not coming for another couple of years.
Oh, no robot arm. Come on, Apple. You can do better.
Apparently they can't.
Apparently not. I'm just kind of surprised that they didn't have a HomePad device like this to begin with. HomeKit has been...
Well, they have the speaker, right? The HomePod. But this would be more of a device. Yeah, this would be more a device similar to the Echo Show or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And, Apple, as we talk about, it's a tale as old as time. Apple takes its time on some of these form factors. And then, the story is they get it right when they finally come out with it. So I'm still very curious to see how they do this. Some 3 or 4 years, or I don't know how long it's been since Amazon's had its version of this, and Google's had its version of this. Now Google's like de-emphasizing its version of this, and Apple's going to bring it back again.
All set against the background of many of Apple's top designers, including Johnny Ive, working for OpenAI to develop devices.
Interesting how the world works. NVIDIA is planning to launch a lower-priced AI chipset for the Chinese market as part of its latest generation of Blackwell architecture AI processors. The chip will use cheaper, more conventional GDDR7 memory, will not require TSMC's advanced chip-on-wafer on-substrate packaging technology, and the price range, according to Reuters sources anyways, would likely be anywhere between $6,500 to $8,000. That's compared to the H20's $10,000 to $12,000. So definite price reduction there. NVIDIA is looking to begin mass market production as early as next month.
Yeah, NVIDIA market share in China dropped, they say, from 95% to 50%, even if they're making that sound worse than it is. That's a big drop, no matter how you look at it. So they want to do something like this. That is why Jensen Huang, the CEO, has been talking a lot to the president of the United States to try to make sure that this one doesn't get blocked, because the H20 was one that was created to get around previous restrictions, and then the U.S. made new restrictions that block the H20. So NVIDIA wants to be able to sell chips to Chinese companies. These are more modern, they're less expensive, but with that memory downgrade, hopefully that gets them around the restrictions. At least they hope that would get them around the restrictions.
Right.
TSMC announced its plans to open a chip design center in Munich, Germany in Q3. The new Munich Design Center will aim to help European customers develop advanced high-performance and energy-efficient chips for automotive, industrial, AI, IoT, all the stuff. TSMC is looking to improve chip and skills development in Europe so local companies and universities can access advanced semiconductor capabilities. Big need in Europe to have something that close that people can go get hands-on with. And another part of this ongoing trend of diversification of supply chains around the globe instead of all being in one region.
Yeah, indeed. The browser company announced it's considering a sale or also open sourcing its Arc browser as the company focuses development on its new AI-powered browser called Dia. Feature development for the Arc browser has officially stopped. It'll continue to receive security updates and bug fixes as they are needed. And then as far as open sourcing the browser, that actually faces at least one big obstacle. It relies on the proprietary Arc development kit. Arc CEO Josh Miller says the company will look into ways of doing so, of open sourcing it without compromising the company's IP or shareholder interest in the process, especially when you consider that the new Dia browser that they're going to be really focusing on will also utilize the ADK. Dia is in alpha testing, no official word on a public trial or launch at this point.
Yeah, it sounds like not enough people used Arc. And they're really excited about Dia and think people might use Dia, and they want to reduce the cost of maintaining Arc.
Two different things.
Yeah. So they're and Arc had that breach, which I think probably makes it more complicated to make. We want to make sure we don't have security problems like that with Dia. So they are going to continue to maintain the security on Arc. You can keep using it. It is interesting that they have announced they're stopping development on features for Arc before Dia is in wide availability.
Yes, that is interesting. Right. Well, all hands on deck then, I guess. I haven't really used Arc personally. I get locked in my ways and it's hard for me. I don't know. Have you spent any
We
time
are the
with
problem, Jason, because I went and I looked at Arc. I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. I don't want to change. I don't want to change the way I do
browsers,
things.
Man.
Yeah. Even
totally.
Unless I'm really sure it's going to work better once I get over that learning curve.
Yes.
And I think that's true of a lot of people.
Yep.
The European Union has accused Shein of breaking EU consumer protection laws by offering fake discounts, that's the accusation, pressure tactics, misleading product labels, and deceptive sustainability claims. Shein was founded to offer price reductions that weren't based on authentic previous prices, along with countdowns that apply pressure for quick purchases, all part of the gamification of it. Shein also was found to make contact info for returns and refunds difficult to find. It's there, but you had to dig around too much, at least according to the EU. And Shein has 1 month to respond with an outline on how it plans to address these issues. It also could face fines based on a percentage of its sales in the EU.
Yeah, that's potentially some pretty shady stuff. Hiding the contact for refunds and returns. Ooh, I hate that practice.
Also, it's going after Shein. Right? They are a target these days because of how cheap their stuff is. And the tariffs from the US aren't going to slow Shein down in the EU, but this could.
Indeed, it could. OnePlus has announced the new OnePlus 13S, and with it, the official removal of its signature alert slider. Although I feel like we've been here before, and then it came back, and now it's gone again. Anyways, in its place,
so you're saying there's a chance.
You're saying there's always a chance. I think, especially with OnePlus and its alert slider, people love it. In its place, a new AI button called the plus key. The multifunction button will operate the camera. It'll offer AI translation, a voice memo recording. That's just for starters. Beyond that, it will also launch AI Plus Mind, a tool that can capture and save information from images and text displayed on the screen, storing it in a dedicated mind space, in quotes. So that's what it's called, mind space, where it becomes transcribed and searchable. And to this, I just say AI buttons are definitely a thing right now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That and I want to record information to make it easier for you to find it later. Because I think Samsung's got that too, right?
Yeah. I mean, I will say the Nothing Phone 3A, if I had it in reach, well, it doesn't matter. This isn't a video show, but I'd look at it. I'd gaze at it longingly. It has the Essential Space button. And in my time reviewing that, I actually really got used to using it and relying on it for random, like on the go voice memo recordings, because you have these ideas when you're out and about, and if you don't put them somewhere, they're gone. And typing them out or writing them down, it was always just a broken experience. And I ended up using that sucker for that duration of that review and got so used to it that I really wish I still had it. So I'm open to this. I just think that sometimes these things offer, the potential is that they end up offering so much that people don't use it because they don't know what is the thing that I use this for.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's almost like it's almost like the assistant problem. Assistant could do a million things, and that's why people never did them, because it was confusing. Exactly.
Google rolling out a new feature to Android Auto. Android Auto is like CarPlay. Android Automotive is an operating system. Android Auto is the thing in your infotainment screen. Anyway, that includes the arrival of Spotify Jam.
Yeah.
A collaborative playlist feature that lets anyone in the car with Spotify join through a QR code so you can add songs to the playlist, on the fly as you're taking your road trip. Android Auto will also soon support web browsers and video apps with restrictions that limit their use to being parked, so you're not browsing the web while you're flying down the freeway. Other updates include a light theme, quick share for easier Google Map route sharing, and passkey support.
Okay. Getting a little better. I don't have a vehicle that has Android Auto integrated. Maybe
you never rent.
I will.
That's how I usually run across.
I mean,
this stuff,
occasionally, yes. Yeah. That's like the one time where I actually get any first.
That's when I get my hands on and try this stuff. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, totally. It took 15 years, but Meta finally released a dedicated WhatsApp app for iPad. It brings nearly all features from the iPhone app to the tablet, including group video and audio calls for up to 32 people, support for front and rear cameras, screen sharing during your calls. The app fully integrates with iPad OS multitasking features, so you get Stage Manager, Split View, and Slide Over. The new app is available right now on the App Store.
App Blast.
Free App Blast.
I didn't want to sing the song App Blast.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm not very good at singing. But there you go. Yeah. Your first dance with WhatsApp on the iPad, you can play App Blast by Etta James. Those are the essentials for today. Let's dive a little deeper, Jason. Please hurry.
Okay, let's do it. One promise of 3D printers is easy replacement parts. That's not so daunting when you're talking about your dishwasher, but what about your skin? Mm-hmm. Yes, the skin on you, on your body. Turns out Dr. Niki has the answer.
Dr. Niki, welcome back. Good to talk to you again.
Happy to be back talking about skin.
Yes, not just skin, but 3D printing your skin?
Oh, yeah. I knew this was one that you would enjoy, Tom, so I brought it to you today from Sydney, Australia.
Ooh, down under.
Yeah.
Do they print the skin backwards?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
That would be an even crazier story. Let's start with normal skin printing.
Yeah, normal skin printing. And this is real too, right?
Yeah, so at the Concord Hospital in Sydney, Australia, the world's first clinical trial on live patients using 3D printed skin. It's based on a technique that was first developed in 2023. That was kind of a pilot using a patient's own skin stem cells to replicate, make into kind of an ink, I guess, like a skin cell goo.
Skink.
Skink. Skims, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
That you can then print onto your body.
So how do you print it onto your body? Is this, do you like stand up in a column and they spray the skin onto you? How does that work?
Actually, you're very close other than you're laying down. Yeah.
Okay.
It's very cool. So they have, if you can imagine these robots that you see in hospitals nowadays or in hospital like movies, they have like this robot arm called LIGO. It's a bedside robot. It has this like skin ink in it, and it does spray layer by layer onto the exposed surface, or in some cases it'll spray into a patch to make like a skin graft that you then graft depending on the wound that you have.
Okay.
If the wounds are really deep, you can't directly spray it into it, and it'll basically rebuild the skin layer by layer, so it is printing and cell by cell to create this skin graft into the patient out of their own skin.
Yeah, so the ink is cultivated skin from
Cultured,
you.
yeah.
Right. They take a bit of your cells, they make more, and then they're able to use the robot to reapply it either directly or with a graft, depending on the situation.
Yeah, and the fact that it's cell by cell is just really cool also. And it is a spray too. It's kind of gross.
It's kind of amazing. Did you ever have the like spray on skin Band-Aid when you were a kid? Yeah.
It's like that, but real.
But actual skin. Yeah.
Yeah, not just plastic or whatever that was.
Okay, so they've tried this on actual people?
Yeah, so 5 patients have received this, and there's 5 more waiting. The person that they interviewed for the news segment had a 3rd-degree burn that she got go-karting, and her burn was on her upper thigh. It was a pretty big piece, about the size of a hand, I want to say. It wasn't healing by traditional techniques, so they tried, bandaging it and stuff, and it just wasn't going anywhere. So this is a case where they made a skin graft from this robot on the side and then grafted it onto her skin. And she was really surprised that it didn't cause any pain at all, which I thought was really interesting.
Wow. I mean, the applications here seem pretty obvious. Burn victims, situations like that. What are some of the other applications that maybe we wouldn't think of off the top of our head?
So already reducing pain and also really little scarring. You can see in the video from the news site that did this, she has a very clear rectangle of skin. It's reddish, but as new tissue is, but there's not a big square scar or anything. It kind of fades into her skin. It's also really, really fast. So, usually you think about burn victims, it taking forever for them to heal. If you get a full skin graft, that is way quicker to heal than regrowing an entire layer of skin. So that's really exciting. And yeah, do you want to get 3D printed skin? How do you feel about this?
If I needed it, it's good to know. I guess this is faster, less scarring, more pain-free than previously existing treatments. I'm in.
And remember, sometimes you can get, currently without this technique, you can get a skin graft from yourself, but you have to cut it out of another piece of your body.
Yeah.
Assuming that you have, you're not fully burnt in your whole body. Another thing you can do is get a donor graft, but again, donor organs always cause complications. So this is a really cool advancement, and hopefully the next 5 people will wrap this up nicely, and then we'll move on to bigger clinical trials.
Yeah, so that's the path then, is clinical trials and then approvals and all of that.
Yeah, but now that it's in a person, and they did take biopsies, and the skin looks normal, it's
good.
Looks fine.
Yeah, that would be a worry. Is that for some reason, even though this is from yourself, that some part of the process causes it to
robot skin
grow out of control, or yeah, exactly.
And also, can you imagine being in this clinical trial and being showing off your scar, and being it's 3D printed, no big deal.
Yeah. Why is that little red patch? Oh, that's my 3D printed skin. It's still fresher than the rest.
I would absolutely volunteer for this.
Yeah. Niki, thank you so much for bringing this. If folks want to find more of this kind of information, follow you, where should they go?
Absolutely. You can go find me at NicoleAckermans.com, and I'm under the same name on Blue Sky. So I'll see you there with normal skin.
If you have feedback about anything that gets brought up on the show, you can talk to us on social networks. Have you heard of them? We are at DTNS Show, and we are available at DTNS Show on X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Mastodon. That's at DTNS Show. However, if you're looking for us in the video places like TikTok or YouTube, we're just at Daily Tech News Show.
We end every episode of DTNS with some shared wisdom. Today, Tim has a question based on the news that Mozilla is shutting down Pocket.
Yeah, I mentioned when we talked about this news last week that I used to use Pocket and I haven't used it in a long time. And Tim said,
Me too.
I'm curious what Tom has replaced Pocket with. I still use it mostly to remember articles on useful topics and classify them with tags so I can just quickly look up Active Directory or COVID or Wisconsin and find the article I vaguely remember. I'm not the most avid fan, but I still used it because I hadn't found a replacement service, so I'm all ears for what Tom and others use. And I thought about it and I was like, I never replaced it. I never said, well, instead of Pocket, I am now using this. I think I end up using RSS feeds that way. I use Feedly that way. When I want to remember a link, I tend to go mark it in Feedly, which is not nearly the same as just looking at the article and hitting Pocket, but it doesn't come up that often. What about you, Jason?
No, I mean, I definitely for a number of years heavily used Pocket and kind of, when I'm curating or crafting a show like all about Android and everything, all of my links for the week would go in there, and then I'd go there when I sat down to create the rundown, and there they all were. Same as you, Tom. I didn't replace it with anything. I just kind of stopped doing that.
There were just other things that took away the need, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't know that I've necessarily missed it either. I mean, if it's a link that I really, let's just say my solution is very lo-fi. If it's a link that I really don't want to lose out on, I end up emailing it to myself. How much does that make me sound like an old man? I email the link to myself.
I write it down on a piece of paper and put it in an envelope and mail it. No, I don't.
Yes, in long form too. Yeah. I don't even shorten the URL when I write it down on a piece of paper.
To write the URL.
Yeah, I didn't replace it. Oh,
that was an interesting question because I'm like, you know what? I don't think I ever did replace it.
Yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting. I mean, it was one of those apps that, like, when I set up a new phone, it was one of the first ones to go on almost immediately or log into, Not anymore. Well, what are you thinking about? If you have some insight into this story or any of the ones that we talked about today, share it with us. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. Thanks to Dr. Niki. Also, big thank you to Tim for contributing to today's show. And thank you for being along for Daily Tech News Show. This show is made possible by our patrons. Patreon.com/DTNS. We'll see you tomorrow.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.